Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Wake Up at 724. I'm joined today by three extremely good-looking men. They're the reason that, with this being a controversial topic, and it might push away some viewers, I brought in the three best-looking hosts to bring viewership back up and to try to bump us from 12 views a day to 14 views a day. Mainly with Petschke here, I see us skyrocketing into the thousands, but we'll see. Guys, today's Wake Up at 724 topic is college athletes and should they be paid or not. I'm bringing in a recently graduated from college opinion, and Nate Hodder, a getting ready to go play college sports, and Ben Petschke with baseball, and same with Andrew Solman with soccer. So, guys, looking forward to having you. Why don't you do a quick introduce yourself, maybe where you went or where you're going to school and what sports you've played and why you're excited about this particular episode. Nate, we'll start with you.
Hey guys, I'm Nate Hodder.
You did
I am. What?
You didn't even go to Georgetown.
Russ, why else would I be wearing the hoodie, dog?
It's a good point. Just like I went to Notre Dame, right?
Is that what that is?
Shh, quiet.
I thought that was like Packers. No, I'm just excited to dismantle Solman and his arguments, and then no, I'm just pumped to be here. I'm just happy to be here.
Nice. Solster, give us your take. Introduce yourself.
So I'm Andrew Solman. I'm going to be going to Grove City College next year to play soccer. I'm an absolute behemoth on the soccer field. Very excited to be here. I'm also excited to fight Nate Hodder on whatever he says. So yeah.
And just Nate, where did you go to college?
I went to Liberty University.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Petschke, who's rocking a Texas A&M shirt, but will not be attending, going a different route. Petschke, introduce yourself.
Petschke, where are you going?
Let him get there. Let him get there.
Yeah, I'll get there. My name's Ben Petschke. I'm going to Dayton University to play baseball, and I'm excited to fight Solster also.
Just think,
I'm in the corner now.
If social distancing wasn't a thing, Solster would already be bleeding on the ground. In this case, thank God for social distancing, right, Solster?
Yeah.
Guys, so today's topic, it's a heated one. It's a debated one. For some reason or another, and we'll get to maybe what that reason is, this has kind of taken a whole new step of publicity and people's opinion, and really starting to impact sports as we know it. So what do you think, in your guys' opinion, has caused this recent increase in the topic of pushing for college athletes to be paid? What is causing the buzz?
I guess I'll start it off. I just think a big thing that has pushed this narrative is that college sports are just rising in popularity. There's a lot more people watching them, especially football, and also just better performing athletes overall, like a better range of athletes, making it for more exciting college sports to watch. So I think that's definitely something that's pushed it.
Is your answer across the board with all sports, or very specific sports that are perhaps driving this, Solster?
I think it's over all sports, just because I think athletes have become more well suited to playing, and just with new technology and new strategies, they can just make their game a lot better. So I think overall, it's just every sport that has been rising in popularity, every college sport. So
yeah. Petschke, agree, disagree, thoughts?
I think it's more of just football and basketball. Nobody really watches any other college sport that I know of, at least.
Do you think if athletes begin to get paid that there'd be more viewership of these sports because there'd be a push to get them into living rooms and on national platforms, or no?
Probably wouldn't make more people watch. I would feel like more people would want to play sports in college if they were getting paid.
As an athlete going to play college baseball, does baseball fall into that category for you of one of the major sports that should be paid, or does it just not touch those two?
I think that baseball is not really one of the more popular sports to watch in college. So they probably wouldn't get paid very much if they did, because they don't get a lot of money from views or attendance at the games.
All right, Nate, where are you at as you process and hear these guys' takes?
I think the biggest reason that this is getting so big is just the amount of money they're bringing in. Like Clemson football, especially, is one of the big programs, and Trevor Lawrence is one of these guys that they're making so much money off of that for some reason gets none of it. I can't really understand it.
If all of a sudden there's been this dramatic shift to they need to be paid, and your guys' young opinions, why has it been for decades and centuries that college athletes have not been paid?
The NCAA calls it amateurism, and they shouldn't be paid because they're not professionals.
All right, Solster, what would be why for so long? Well, not only that, why for so long has it been okay or not contested or not been brought into the spotlight and gotten us to at least where we're at, where we still love college sports. College sports still play a huge role. Athletes for years have still been playing college sports despite getting paid. Why has it remained that way for so long?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Petschke on that. That it's just it's a precursor to professional sports. And I mean, even though you could argue that college sports, I mean, they're definitely professional sports, but they're not professional compared to a league such as the NFL or the NBA. And I think that leaves players in the dark there for any type of payment in that way. But now that we're seeing more revenue coming in, I think that it could be more of a possibility to pay college athletes in the future.
Okay. Nate?
No, I think the biggest thing is realizing, I think number one, it's greed. The NCAA, what they are designed to do is pull money from these schools, and they do a fantastic job of doing it. The problem is a lot of these athletes that come from, a lot of them are very, very, very impoverished and maybe didn't come from the best backgrounds or scenarios. And there's stories all over the place where athletes are literally outside of, football or basketball season, can't afford food because they have no source of income or anything like that. And the school literally can't, coaches, I forget which coach, maybe it's the guy, no, it wasn't the guy at Rutgers, I don't remember, but got in trouble for trying to give one of his players a meal stipend because he couldn't afford food. I think that's the biggest thing. And also the reason they've been able to do that for so long is going, okay, they're not at, Clemson, LSU, Auburn, they're not there for sports. Sports is an added bonus, but they're there for an education. And I think when you're playing a professional sport, obviously you're there to play sports. So I think making or pushing education being the focus as why these players are there has helped for so long make sure that they're not paid.
Yeah. So then what would be, where are you guys standing? If a line was drawn in the sand or you had to take a position, obviously two of the biggest arguments for why college athletes shouldn't be paid and why they haven't been paid for years, kind of to go off Nate's point, is for the most part, if you are a scholarship athlete, one would argue that they are getting paid, that they are getting a free college tuition, room and board, meal plans, clothing plans. I talked to, one of the guys that I coach with who recently played college football in Penn State, has more Penn State apparel and gear that I think he could wear a different article of clothing and not wear it again for months. That's how much, stuff he has, all Nike, all name brand. So one would argue that college students are getting paid because unlike me and potentially you guys, I had to pay for my college tuition. I'm still paying for my college tuition. So how would you argue that? How does a free education not be considered paid?
I think it's actually incredibly easy to look at that and think the exact same way that you have. However, it's one of those things where you have to realize, okay, what do these kids need to actually live? They have this amazing, incredible talent. Shouldn't they be getting something for it? And yeah, you have the education, but they still have to pay for housing. They still have to pay for food. They're trying to support their families, which again, a lot of times are doing well. So when you look at it, you go, okay, so why not incentivize these kids to stay in school? If they are getting paid, if they are making money off their name, if they are able to support their families, like a lot of them have kids and things like that, if they are able to support their families, that gives them more of a reason to actually stay in school. So looking at it and going, yeah, I completely understand they are getting paid scholarships and everything like that. The amount of money being made off these kids doesn't really equate to the amount of money they're getting in scholarships. And that's the reason these kids are, leaving college early or doing things like that to go play sports, because they're realizing, yeah, you know what, I'm not getting my fair dues for this, or I could be getting more to provide for my family and things like that if I do go. So my biggest thing is incentivize these kids to stay.
All right, compassionate take there, Petschke.
I feel like it's wrong that they can't earn anything from their name, and the NCAA is taking all the money that they are getting for them, and none of it's going to the athletes.
Yeah, no, I agree with Hodder's take on that. Just like I said in the past, the NCAA received $1.1 billion in revenue in 2017 alone. And I mean, I think just from 2017 on, that's even been increasing more and more, that ad revenue. And that's just revenue alone from the ads. So I think even though it may cause problems, it may be a logistical meltdown just from getting players that payment. I think it still gives good incentive for them to stay in school and pursue that higher education and set themselves up for a better life forward from that.
Some would argue that college athletes, at least the higher end ones, have always been paid. It's just been illegal to do so. But these athletes are not going unpaid. They're getting, bribes. They're cheating the system. How do you and to make athletes now paid just legalizes what colleges have been doing for years? Two-part answer. How do you answer that? And then what do you do with if college athletes are now able to be paid? Should colleges and programs that in the past were penalized for cheating, for doing this, should they get certain things back, or, things that were stripped, given back? Where do you guys fall in that?
Absolutely not. They shouldn't get the money back because it was still legal. And I think also we're operating under the fallacy that, okay, every one of these kids or most of these kids are getting bribes, are getting paid, or getting all these things. And that's just simply not true. I think some of them are correct at the big programs, but if you're operating under the 100% of the kids are already getting bribes and everything like that, then they wouldn't be leaving, college early. They wouldn't be starving. Their families wouldn't be doing poorly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there would have been ways.
Right. Well, $100,000 bribe's different than a $24 million rookie signing contract.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely think that's unethical with bribery and everything like that. I definitely think that's unethical for the college organizations to do. So in the end, I don't think they should get that money back, just like Haas was saying.
So when you guys think of what's in your mind, one answer, biggest, most positive impact for athletes getting paid in college?
College is a much shorter time because it's always obviously only 4 years, while if you're in a professional sport, it could be for many, many years of the rest of your life. I just think that college athletes especially put everything out there on the line, especially if they're going for that draft pick or whatever they want to do professionally on from college. So, I mean, I think that's just a huge push for college pay, is that they're always putting it all there out on the line just to give it their all and make professional sports teams recognize them. And in the end, that could set them up for a scholarship or a team in the future. So
no, my biggest thing is, I've said it before, is incentivizing these kids to play in school. Like, that's the biggest thing. If your school is making like how many millions of dollars have they made off of, Trevor Lawrence's name at this point? I think incentivize these kids to stay, especially the kids that come from, poor backgrounds and maybe have families, kids, a wife, things like that.
When you say incentivize to stay, are you saying stay and get an education, or stay and don't go pro?
Stay and get an education.
Because I just don't see, even if a bill is passed where athletes can be paid, there's no way it comes anywhere near to even the lowest of veteran minimums in any professional sport, especially the big three of basketball, baseball, and football, or soccer, if you think, European league.
Sure, exactly. But I think the big thing is just making sure they're able to, you know, supplement themselves and their families going through college. Because there is, for a lot of these kids that go pro, there's a sense of urgency. There's a sense of, I have to get my family out of this situation, or I have to do this and everything like that. It's not just looking at it, okay, they're going to be fine, but I want my money now.
Okay.
I need to help them.
I see where you're going. I have a follow-up question to you, Nate, but I want to get Petschke's take real quick. Petschke, biggest reason positive why athletes should be paid?
Because the NCAA is making money off of their name, and they should get some of it.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement there, but let me go back to this. Nate, this is kind of go back to attack you a little bit, or maybe justify. Guys, I'm interested in your take as well. Now, let's just say athletes now are paid to go to college. But to your point, Nate, we're discussing like the top tier that have that shot at professional, and we're trying to incentivize them to stay. And then there's the lowest, the 15th man on the roster, the guy who's never going to see, like, are all athletes getting paid the same, or is it like Zion Williams is getting 1.8 million and Joe Schmo, 15th player, never sees the court, is getting 5,000? What are we talking here?
I think absolutely there should be a bare minimum, but there should be think of it like sales. Like each salesperson is making this much, but there's commission. There should be, like, there is no way that, Zion, when he was at Duke, should be making the same amount as the 15th walk-on or whatever it is. Like, that just doesn't make sense. So I absolutely think there needs to be a base, but then you should be making money off your name, especially if, your school is making money off your name. So
when you say your name, attached to that also means how popular you get based on how good you are or become, correct? Would I be wrong in assuming that?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact metric they would be using to determine your worth and how much you should be paid. I think that's where we come into some issues. But yeah, right off the bat, that would make sense to me.
Well, I think that's where the argument comes, is this just can't happen in a college setting, because then what do? Petschke, you now represent, or Solman, you represent Petschke in his baseball contract at Dayton. All of a sudden, Petschke goes from this freshman nobody to this sophomore phenom. He was getting paid $5,000 as a freshman. Now he's known around the world and is demanding more money from his college. It's the NFL free agent, I'm unhappy, I signed my contract, the Antonio Browns of the world. How are colleges, and now this budget that you used to have, now Petschke's asking for quadruple it. That's, I think, the scary part of this, that professional settings trickling down into college. How do you guys answer that? How do you manage that? What's your approach?
Right. No, absolutely. But also the crux of the argument doesn't fall on people that come from Petschke's situation. My argument is more stemming from the people that are coming from nothing and that already have kids or families or already need to support and just simply can't, or they can't get that education because they have to help their family as soon as possible. So they go in 2 years, they leave, they go to the NFL or the NBA, whatever it is, they get hurt, and then they have no education and are no degree that they're able to support their families on.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's where the problem lies, just with trying to figure out how much the students get paid, when they get paid, and if that payment is done by the school or the NCAA. I think there's a lot of problems there, which could lead to people looking at it such as no payment. But that's all I have to say on that.
I don't think there's any way that every college could pay their players. Like, some colleges don't have enough money to do that.
Yeah. And
they don't even get, like, they're never even on TV to make money.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Well, that's kind of my next question is, how does this impact things like recruiting, big schools versus small schools? How does college athletes now getting paid impact professional sports? What does that do to tuition for guys like me who aren't going to play the sport? They just want to go to the school. Is this going to increase tuition? Is this going to increase ticket pricing? How do you guys see, if this does happen, what impacts do you see on those things?
Yeah, I definitely see bigger schools becoming a lot more popular, just because if college athletes at bigger schools are going to be getting paid more, athletes are going to want more money. Because people want more money in general to be successful. But I think that bigger schools are definitely going to become a lot more popular, and that will kind of leave smaller schools in the dust, and even maybe shut down some smaller schools just because they're not getting as many athletes anymore. Obviously there is still a palette for lesser skilled athletes, like myself. I'm going D3, but I think that there's going to be even more of a demand for higher skilled athletes that will be going to D1 schools, which in the end will leave small schools in the dust, in my opinion.
So you almost a D3 thing where you don't get paid to play, almost like coming up into Division 2, and even into some Division 1 programs, and wiping them out from scholarship level.
Yeah, I mean, sort of.
To go on with what Hodder was saying about the kids that need the money now, they might go to a school that they're never going to actually play at just because they're offered more money and they'll get paid more.
That's true.
And then that just leads to less of a competitive league for teams that may not be as good.
That's a very good point. I didn't even think about that. And then what do you do with the Jalen Hurts and all these guys that, the Fields and these quarterbacks that leave the big school for another school? Would they just stay where they're at because they're getting paid to? It's a good take. Hodder?
I think the kind of solution with that is, you pay kids the same, and you have that minimum. You have that minimum that you throw, because like Solman, what's the NCAA ad revenue 2017?
2017 was $1.1 billion.
Okay, so take some of that money, give it to the kids that they're making it off of, and then you have a boosting your own profile, that making money off your name, whatever it is, then you're getting money. So yeah, Hurts might not stay there, but the reason he's not staying there is because he wants to boost his profile somewhere else and make more off that.
I like it.
So you don't have these guys just going to Bama, sitting for 4 years, and being content with that, but actually wanting to push themselves.
Yeah. And again, they're still trying to think draft. You're not going to get noticed. If you are trying to go pro, if you have that chance, you're not moving up in the draft boards by sitting behind Petschke for 4 years. All right. So here's my thought is this has to trickle into, why do high school athletes need to go to college at all to play certain professional sports, especially if they're starting to get paid? What's your guys' opinions on, the minimum of, you got to play 3 years in college, football, 1 year in college basketball. You're already starting to see high school athletes take off and go play overseas and in the NBA, G League and all, but baseball players can go pro right out of high school. So you've got all these different, soccer, you can do whatever. How do you see all of that impacting? Should college change their policies to just let high school players go straight to pro and answer some of this stuff, where kids that need it have the chance, families are important, or they rather get an education? How do you guys answer that? What needs to change, if anything, with those types of policies and standards as we address paid athletes?
I think college is a great time just to be formed and just really impact your leadership abilities and other abilities that you might want to improve. And I just think if you're not having a college sport and you're just going straight to pro, I think you're losing something there. I think you're losing some great opportunities and experiences that you would have in college. I mean, I know I'm really excited about that, and I'm sure Petschke is as well. But I just think you're losing something there if you're going straight from high school to professional.
Yeah, but Solster, if you're the next Ronaldo, do you feel the same way? Do you say, forget college, I'm going to go make $200 million this year alone, which some would say is the definition of success and why you go to college in the first place? Are you in a different boat if you're on that level caliber athlete? because we're talking like 2% of college athletes go play professional. Out of 2%,
Right.
we're talking about the 0.002 LeBron James, Dwight Howard's, or Petschke. I'd be curious to hear you with baseball, like why it takes so long to move up in the baseball farm system. If you get an earlier shot at it, why don't you take it? Walk me through that, especially with guaranteed money in baseball. Where are you at?
I think I would probably go straight to the pros if I could, which obviously I can't. But I think I would definitely want to make money right away than going to college where you can't get paid, but you're still putting in the same amount of work.
But what if the worlds have changed where now you are getting paid, but you're not getting paid nearly what you would, but you're still getting paid and getting that experience and the education that, Solster's talking about? Are you still in the, I'm skipping that step and jumping right into pro? I know my answer.
I mean, it depends, because if I was able to go straight to the pros or I go to Dayton, I feel like Dayton wouldn't really be able to pay me a lot at all. So I might just go pro still.
Nate, what's your thoughts? Where are you going?
I don't know. I'm pro pay the kids. Yeah.
So
yeah,
Nate's going pro. Petschke's going pro. Solster, you're going to turn down $200 million and travel the world, or are you taking that Grove City education?
Well, no, I mean, I think there's an exception there. I mean, if you are like one of the world's best and you're receiving an offer to play for one of the top clubs in the world for $200 million or 200 million.
Yeah, right here.
On Europe.
Right here.
Yeah, Nate. But yeah, if you're receiving that offer, I mean, I'm definitely gonna take that offer. It just depends where you're at in your situation.
Yep, I feel you. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing. I'm convinced, at least at the NBA, whatever LeBron's son chooses to do will become the new norm among students that follow him in graduation classes to come. Just because I don't see why go play basketball at Duke or North Carolina for 1 year and then go pro when you could be making and branding yourself and getting endorsements, and Nike's already looking to sign him for millions and millions of dollars. I just don't see how colleges, even if they do start paying their athletes, can compete with that. And I think we're going to create more of a mess than we realize. But as a viewer, I'm ready to sit back and watch the mess and see what comes of it, and pray that college sports as I know it doesn't change at its core, because I don't know about you, but I'm more of a college sports fan than I am a pro fan. And I would hate to see the dark side of professional sports creep into college and rob, a lot of students and athletes an experience like Solster was talking about. It's going to be really hard if that's what's the case. Fellas, I want to thank you for being on the show. I don't know about you, but I've loved debating this. This is a topic that this is way above our pay grade. Our opinions mean absolutely nothing in it, and it will not change anything.
Speak for yourself, okay?
But nevertheless, I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. And we know that all 12 viewers are going to enjoy this, especially when they see that Petschke's now on the show. So to all our fans, all of our faithful followers and subscribers, this has been another episode of Wake Up at 724. I want to thank Nate, Solman, and Petschke for joining the show. Fellas, any closing words to all those athletes out there wanting to see if they're going to get paid or not? Final thoughts.
13-year-old girls are probably freaking out right now.
That'll get edited out.
Petschke's on this. Crazy.
Don't even bring up 13-year-old girls.
That's kind of weird, man.
Yeah.
Are you talking about 13-year-old girls, bro? Oh.
Petschke, that's not your I know the people that have the Ben Petschke NA posters, okay?
Hey,
I think that's a thing.
It's not adults.
I now own that clip, and I'm gonna destroy it, and I'm gonna use it against you for years to come. That'll be a GIF that I'll be very unproud of.
Yeah, trust me, I know you got the editing. I know.
Oh yeah. All right, fellas. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Guys.
Thanks, Russ.
See ya.
See you, boys.
See you, Russ.
Peace out.